Story 1. I have a couple of thousand games. Give me immortality beforehand if you want me to complete them all. Story 2. I need to know what constitutes completion. Do we mean reaching the end of something specific or achieving 100% of Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation achievements? Genie will need to be specific. Story 3. I would need immortality beforehand. I will be a while. Story 4. Okay, to clarify the rules. You must complete the main story and any non-repetitive side quests. Story 5. Immortality would be a curse. A better reward would be $100 million. Story 6. Okay. It will take maybe 2 years or it may never be finished. Skyrim? Hitman? When is Skyrim even finished? I am not good at many of these. Some I may never be able to finish. Laughing out loud. Story 7. I don't have one, so. Genie. Okay. Now, for every game in your entire game library, you must do this first. Meet done. Story 8. Complete Europa Universalis 4? Geez, I need to do a lot of research on exploits. Story 9. Library is hard to define if you only include Steam or only physical copies. I have some PlayStation 2 games that would take time to catalog, and Skyrim is available on multiple platforms. If we count all the video games I own, I have a 1981 Donkey Kong read-only memory image and an emulator somewhere. That game is famously unbeatable. I also have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the Microsoft Disk operating system, but I've never set it up or played it. Besides those and countless other famously difficult games, I'd also be stuck because I made a few games when I was a kid that are unbeatable. Story 10. Depending on who you ask, immortality is either a power or a curse. Story 11. Gross. Who wants to live forever? Seeing loved ones die and having to disappear or risk arousing suspicion. No thanks. Story 12. It depends on what they mean by immortality. One option is questionable and the other is awful. Story 13. Immortality is a curse without the ability to teleport or be invulnerable. Story 14. I am going to need that immortality in advance. I will die of old age before this backlog is completed. Story 15. Yeah, I think I'll pass on that. I don't want to be doomed to live in this reality forever. I'll just trade it for a healthy, natural life. Story 16. I have Steam family sharing set up, so I have about 600 games on Steam. I also get the free games from Epic Games every week, although I do not think I have ever opened any of them. That does not include my physical games. I would have to quit my job and play full-time, and even then I doubt I could complete them. Do I have to beat World of Warcraft or other massively multiplayer online games? Story 17. So, wait, I get immortality and I get to go back and play all my games? What's the catch? Story 18. I collect retro games and frequently donate to itch.io campaigns, which are essentially hundreds of indie game bundles. If I had to start playing now and not stop until I finished, I would not see anyone I have known for decades. Story 19. I would easily be able to do this, as I am not a gamer and have only 2 downloaded games. I also do not think I would want to be immortal. That would mean so many years of loneliness and mental anguish. Story 20. Immortality or eternal youth? If it is immortality, I will be 80 years old before I have earned every trophy in my library, and then it will not be worth it. Story 21. When you say complete, do you mean 100% completion or just the main story? I have not completed every Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption game 100%. Story 22. I have Europa Universalis 4, Crusader Kings 3, Stellaris and Hearts of Iron 4 in my library. Each one takes years to reach 100% completion. I'm cooked. Story 23. I'll just die, thanks. It's not that I have a very extensive library or that they're very long. I'm just terrible at video games. Story 24. What about games that have no victory or completion condition? Story 25. It would probably take a few years. The longest to complete would be Stellaris because I habitually restart the game whenever new downloadable content is released. Story 26. Probably don't starve. I'm not sure you can even complete it. Story 27. I only play Call of Duty and Pressure Washer Simulator. So by the weekend, Story 28. My Steam library has about 850 games. I have already finished a decent number of them, but I still have many left. This will take me a while. Story 29. I have hundreds of Nintendo Entertainment System and Super Nintendo Entertainment System games, so I probably never will. Story 30. There are too many questions. Do we receive immortality immediately? During a multi-year gaming session, can we get up to eat, sleep, or go to the gym? Or are those activities unnecessary in this form of immortality? Who decides when the game is complete? Do I have to buy a PlayStation 4 to play the old games in my cabinet, since mine has been dead for more than 5 years? There are many ways this could be exploited. I would probably pass regardless. Story 31. I have Oblivion, which I never finished, Skyrim, which I never started because I hadn't finished Oblivion, Ninja Gaiden Sigma, and many other games. I can no longer play most of them because of a head injury, so I don't expect to live much longer. Story 32. I just set up a Batasra box on a SER8, and it already has 12,000 games. Story 33. Infinity. I do not have the hardware to play them. Story 34. Load a 99% complete save file. Such files exist for nearly all games except the newest titles and for games that do not support saving. Story 35. He is going to have to go through Sony support to unlock my original PlayStation account. Good luck with that. I have tried on several occasions. Story 36. I would not want to have to figure out what to make for dinner for eternity, but if I could curse someone with immortality, it would probably take me a year or two to play through my entire library on the easiest settings. The Japanese role-playing games would take the longest. Story 37. Awesome. I have no games or game libraries. Story 38. At first I thought that was easy. I just needed to finally beat Elden Ring downloadable content and I would be fine, screw polymerase chain reaction. Then I remembered my incomplete PlayStation 2 library and my Nintendo dual screen collection of puzzle games that I never finish. Story 39. Sell most of your games so they are no longer part of your library, and complete the easy ones. Story 40. Is it in my games library or only in my current library? If I buy new games, do I have to beat those too? I mean, I wouldn't, mostly because I would not want the immortality. Story 41. Do I have to complete the games again? I own fewer than 15 games, but somehow I have 2 copies of the Mass Effect trilogy. Story 42. I have no games. I'm way too busy for that. It's so easy. I'm immortal. Story 43. I suddenly regret downloading those free games from Epic that I have collected over the years. Story 44. Ha! I do not have a gaming library, so I will take my immortality now. Story 45. No one will ever finish old school RuneScape. I do not care how long you live. Story 46. I'd give someone else all my games. No library means I win or lose depending on the type of immortality. Story 47. My backlog is pretty thin, to be honest. A couple of dozen games at most. I am not a Steam hoarder like most people seem to be. I do not buy games unless I genuinely intend to play them. I could realistically go through them in less than a year without disrupting my life too badly. Story 48. I'm just going to assume Steam. Can I put the visual novels on autoplay? I'm pretty sure I've completed everything else. Story 49. What is considered completion for games without an end? I have Overwatch 2 and Rivals installed. Story 50. A few weeks. The longest storyline is probably Days Gone, around 40 hours. Story 51. Can I remove some games? I am at 518 games, man. I have a problem. Story 52. Heck, I still have Black Operations 2 in its plastic wrap. Sigh, this might take a while. Story 53. The joke is on him. This condition is also first on my list of things to do with unlimited time. Story 54. No time at all. I don't play them. Does that mean I win? Story 55. The problem is that I got those charity itch.io bundles that include thousands of games. Story 56. Define complete. I have a few games that offer effectively infinite replayability. In that case, Does completion mean obtaining all achievements and completing all objectives? Story 57. Thank fuck I uninstalled Elite Dangerous a while back. Oh, I have just reinstalled No Man's Sky. Story 58. The last game I completed 100% was Chinatown Wars. Took forever. Story 59. Agree to the deal, purge your library, burn your physical copies, and use the General Data Protection Regulation to permanently delete all your digital accounts. Achieve immortality. Rebuy everything. Still don't have time to complete all the games. Story 60. Describe completely. I hate Riddler challenges in Arkham games. Who wants to love forever? No. Story 61. I have 70 Nintendo Switch physical games and have only played 3. I bought a Nintendo Switch 2, and after transferring my data, it's been in the cradle ever since. I haven't even played a single minute of it yet. I'm still trying to finish Assassin's Creed Shadows. Story 62. Are we talking about video games or board games? I have 1,500 board games, and I have not finished most of them. Story 63. I have collected more than 400 original Nintendo Entertainment System cartridges. I am fucked, laughing out loud. Story 64. What does completed mean, 100% of trophies or something else? What about live service games that keep adding content? Is side content required too, such as fishing minigames? If we mean simply playing through the story of unplayed games from start to finish, maybe a few weeks. I am extremely broke. I do not buy games I will not play, so I would need to finish 3 or 4 games I lost motivation to finish or was not as hyped about as I thought. For example, I only played about the first 10% of Shin Megami Tensei V, and I never played the downloadable content for Fire Emblem Three Houses. But if completed includes earning every single achievement in Final Fantasy XIV, then no. I am not spending decades of my life on an achievement in a massively multiplayer online game. Story 65. Do you mean story-wise or trophy-wise? Because I will be damned before I get the Devil May Cry 5 Platinum trophy. Story 66. I would say no, thank you, but I would instead do whatever they wanted so they would never have existed in the first place. I am just curious how the paradox would play out. Story 67. Are we talking about beating the game or 100% completion, including trophies or achievements? That is a very big difference. Also, is there a specified difficulty level? I am saying no either way because life is difficult and extremely expensive, so there is no way I want that ever. Story 68. Does that include the free PlayStation Plus games that I add to my library without thinking? Does complete mean I have to earn the Platinum trophy in every game, or is reaching the end credits sufficient? Story 69. The term complete needs to be defined. Let us say that trophies, achievements, and similar items count. Exclude any trophies or achievements that are now impossible to obtain because their criteria were removed, because they were time-limited, or because they depended on past exploits. Because of role-playing games, without guides it could take a few decades to complete everything across all my systems and Steam games. With guides, it would take a few years. I have never been good at finding hidden trophies without guides. Story 70. The whole point of immortality is that I can play all the games in my library forever. If I must complete them 100% beforehand, then why live? Story 71. It depends on their definition of complete. Games like Minecraft can be open-ended. Many games have an achievement list, a main storyline, and personal objectives for the player. These are different measures of completion. Story 72 looks at the competitive multiplayer collection. I am screwed. Story 73. Completing old-school RuneScape is basically impossible if that is defined as finishing the collection log. Story 74. I have 3 games on my phone. One is half completed. The other 2 are completed, but I never deleted them. I'm not a gamer. Story 75. I have no games that can be completed. The few I have are short games, such as card games, Sudoku, and crossword puzzles. Also, I only want immortality if there is an off switch. Otherwise, it is a curse. Story 76. I would die. Hollow Knight and Silksong would be the end of me. Story 77. I do not have a very large game library, so it would not take long to go through it. Hollow Knight would likely take the longest because I am not very good at it. Story 78. Depends. Completing the story mode is easy, but achieving 100% completion on all of them, I could never do that. First, there are games whose servers have been shut down and are now unplayable. Then there are incomplete games that have been abandoned, and unfinished titles that may never be completed. Finally, there are games that rely on complex random number generation or cryptographic mechanics that teams of people have not been able to solve since their release. Story 79, wait, finish, is restarting a couple dozen times and then moving on an acceptable compromise. Story 80, holy fuck, I'm gonna need to play a lot of games. I might come back to this. Story 81, when you say complete, do you mean all achievements? All downloadable content? I mean, even the jigsaw puzzle game will be tough, given that there is a new puzzle every month and multiple new puzzles in a pack every few months. How do I finish Path of Exile, Guild Wars, Diablo 3, and Diablo 4? Then there are the more than 2,000 other games that I have picked up over the decades. I am going to need immortality just to have a shot at earning it. Story 82. Does it include shared games on Steam? If so, I am in serious trouble. Story 83. I don't know the total time, but Skyrim would take the longest. Story 84. Hold up, Genie-san. Let me make a new account and download one of those free games or a cheap one with very easy achievements. Let him do the check and I will promptly log out. It would be a shame if the original poster suddenly sabotaged this. Story 85. I have fewer than 200 games, so it will take a couple of years. However, if immortality means I would continue to age normally, then no thanks. Story 86. If it is my real backlog, I am screwed with a capital banana. However, I have a separate list of games I want to play that is much smaller, but still larger than the hole it is supposed to fit in. Story 87. If you were talking about 100% Steam achievements, then I am dead. Story 88. I am not getting immortality and I am not a gamer. I am awful at games, but I collect Epic Games freebies every week. Story 89. I just downloaded a new game read-only memory set. If we are counting that, it is not going to happen for a very long time. Story 90. How do you finish games like SimCity 4 or Star Trek Online? Story 91. I have a functioning Atari, so I would have to pass. You do not beat Atari games. They just get faster until you run out of lives. Story 92. A better question is, do we get to do this before or after we become immortal? I had several months of the Humble Bundle monthly subscription. We should not forget entire libraries of retro console games. They would take more than a lifetime if you had to complete every game 100%. RuneScape alone would take years. Story 93. Do I have immortality as long as I complete them? Is there no time limit? Story 94. I have RuneScape. Do I need to complete the collection log? Story 95. If I play them daily to get immortality with no limit on when I complete them, there are no issues. However, if I must finish everyone to gain immortality, I will be stuck. It would literally take me 5 lifetimes. Story 96. Can I get a system panel that lists the objectives I must accomplish in the game and other statistics related to the genie's requirements? Story 97. I look at my Steam library. I think the heat death of the universe will occur before I complete every one of these. Story 98. I would live forever because Space Engineers is never finished. It is literally as vast as space. Story 99. I play very few games, but one of them is Defense of the Ancients 2. I am not sure how I can complete that game. Story 100. A day tops. I would probably pass. I already have immortality, and it sucks. I do not want secondhand mortality from a sketchy genie in some ancient cave. Story 101. Oh, hello. I blindly bought the Yakuza series on discount. Haha. I'm going to be surprised by the total playtime for the series alone. Story 102. Decline the offer without hesitation. Immortality is a curse. You watch your loved ones grow old and die and see the world change to extremes. Given our uncertain landscape, you could eventually be the only person on Earth. As a person out of time with nothing to anchor you, You would find that no matter how rich or how educated you become, food would taste bland, achievements would have little meaning, and experiences would feel hollow because there is no one to share them with. I would not wish immortality on my worst enemy. Story 103 looks at the game's library. Well, I guess I will not be immortal then. Story 104. I will be playing Dungeons and Dragons for all eternity. Story 105. Because I am broke and using a low-performance personal computer, I do not have many games lined up. It will take between 1 week and 1 month. Story 106. It depends on what constitutes completing a game. For example, online games such as Rocket League or Fortnite. Does completing them mean winning a match? For World of Warcraft, how do you complete it? What about games whose servers have been shut down, such as City of Heroes? I also do not understand how the promised immortality is granted. Do I receive it immediately on the condition I will finish all these games? Or do I have to finish them first and receive immortality afterward? If immortality is granted immediately, I could take as long as I want to finish the games, which makes the former interpretation more sensible. To answer the core question, finishing my entire library would probably take 4 or 5 years if I did nothing but play. I am not sure which games would take the longest. I have not checked average playtimes. I suspect The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind and The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3 would be among the longest. My definition of completion here is beating the main story once on any difficulty. For games without a story, completion means winning the largest tournament or competition available on any difficulty. Story 107. Bruh. I thought I was safe until I realized I had been playing Tears of the Kingdom since its release. Story 108. I'm kind of fine with that. There are only 35 in there. Some are already over 90%. Story 109. I do not have a big game library. I play on a console and own Helldivers 2. That game uses 20% of my storage. Story 110. I have 1 dex entry remaining in Fallen Order. I'm not replaying the entire game to get it anytime soon. Even so, it's going to be a paradox game. Story 111. Define games library. I'm older and I don't have Steam, so I'm pretty sure I don't have one. I tend to beat the games I play anyway, but not always. I am giving Elden Ring a second try with a little research, and it is going a lot better than last time when I played basically blind. Story 112. Could I simply outsmart the genie? Remove all but the games I've completed from my Steam library. Story 113. I am a fan of physical games. Does that include all games in my house? What if some are unplayable because they are very old, yet I cannot bring myself to get rid of them? What about board games? If only playable games count, probably Fallout 4, because I cannot stop myself from hoarding. I genuinely cannot remember all the games I have. Story 114. I have Gary's mod installed. Some of those achievements are nearly impossible to get now. Story 115. Honestly, probably not very long. I do not buy games in bulk, so I expect I can speed run a good number of them. This assumes the goal is only to finish the main story. Story 116. Am I still buying games irresponsibly and adding to my backlog? Story 117. If we are still playing games when it is time to die, will our life be extended so we can finish every game? Story 118. All I have is Super Mario Bros. For my Nintendo Entertainment System. Give me about 2 minutes. Story 119. My brother in Christ, there are games in my library that have been delisted, and their online components have been taken down, leaving me permanently unable to complete them 100%. Story 120. If it requires a 100% achievement, I do not know if I can still fully complete Doom 2016. Also, I will need to buy the Fallout 4 downloadable content. Story 121. If I dedicated all my time to eating and gaming, I could probably manage it in 2 years. The thing is, I do not own many of the games I play. I have Game Pass and just play what is available, except for a few games that were worth buying. Considering my Xbox account is older than Halo 3, I think I am doing pretty well with a near 40% completion rate across all the games I have ever played. Lately, I have been revisiting the ones I never finished to tie up loose ends. I have many games that are only a few achievements shy of completion. I think it would not be that difficult to finish them. Story 122. I only have Balatro and Football Manager 24, so I should be fine. Story 123. What does complete mean? Do you have to scour every corner of every map, acquire every achievement, and accomplish every task? Or is it enough to just reach the end credits? Story 124. I have 42 pages of unredeemed game keys on Humble Bundle. I agree with those who already answered and say I absolutely need immortality first. Story 125. My Wii and my Xbox 360 are modified. My Wii has Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and Nintendo 64 games. I do not think I have enough time, especially considering games that have a game over screen. I will never be able to beat Battletoads on the Sega Genesis. Attempting it would take too long. Story 126. Not going to lie, Chief. I'm in trouble. Half my library is Paradox games, and even after thousands of combined hours, I still have no fucking clue what I'm doing. Story 127. I'm in. I have a copy of the Neverhood and a Blade Runner game, and that's it. I didn't finish either, so I'd be grateful for the opportunity. Story 128. Minecraft. Probably 30 minutes. Team Fortress 2. Collecting all trophies took a few years. Story 129. That's never going to happen for me. I still haven't finished Elden Ring. Story 130. If I'm allowed to cheat and completion did not have to mean 100%, then I could do it. The Nintendo Entertainment System had a lot of basically impossible games, so I'd be screwed without cheating or hacking. Also, immortality kind of sounds terrible between 100 and 1,000 years. Before that is cool because you still know everyone. In that middle period it sucks because people are garbage. After that is cool because I'd probably be enlightened or spacefaring. Story 131. My library has about 7 games. I lost track, honestly. It would probably take me a year and a half to finish everything, and I do not want immortality, so I would probably tell the genie no, thank you. Story 132. Well, fuck. I'm going to need immortality just to complete that task. I'm still proud of my game library. I have a decent number of games spanning a couple of generations, and I would not trade them. I love collecting them, and I will keep searching for those games that push the medium in one way or another. Story 133. I would only agree if they covered my living costs because I am a collector and I will be there for a long time. I have 200 Nintendo dual-screen games, 100 Game Boy games, almost 200 PlayStation 2 games, about 100 Xbox 360 games, about 50 Steam games, and about 50 Nintendo Switch games. Story 134. I do not have that many games in my library, so it should be doable. There are several roguelike games and massively multiplayer online games which might take a while. Story 135. Okay. I will remove myself from the family share and rejoin once I finish my 300 games. Story 136. I have been a programmer and software engineer for 45 years. I have never been interested in computer games, so I do not own a game library and can finish them in no time. Story 137. This is an impossible question. Is completion finishing the plot or main game loop once, or being 100% completed and collecting all achievements? Do games that are unplayable count? Do I gain immortality before completing the games, or after completion? Considering the most generous interpretation, playing through once, unplayable or buggy games do not count. I gain immortality and, in return, must then play the games. That is the only deal I would accept. How long would it take? I have more than 300 games on Steam unplayed, more than 200 on Epic Games, and more than 100 on Good Old Games. Assuming an average playtime of 10 hours, some games like The Witcher and Horizon Zero Dawn take much longer, while tiny indie games can take less than an hour. That is about 6,000 hours total estimated. The error margin is huge, probably plus or minus 1,000 hours. Gaming 4 hours a day every day would be just over 4 years. The longest ones would likely be some role-playing games. From experience, Final Fantasy VII, for example, can be completed in about 30 hours by some players, but my first playthrough took closer to 80 hours. Story 138. I deeply regret buying Elden Ring. It is far too difficult for me. I am going to need half of that immortality to beat the tutorial boss. Story 139. I have over 400 games, and more than half are unplayed. I am not sure. It may take a year or two, assuming I do not have to complete 100% of the achievements. For half of the games, I imagine some achievements can no longer be obtained. Story 140. I do not think there is enough time left for me to complete the emulator collections I have compiled over the years, even with infinite lives. Story 141. Yes, civilization makes this challenge basically impossible for me. Never mind. I have just given up. Story 142. Maybe the genie was similar to the villain from the movie Saw. The goal was to make you cherish your life. Story 143. What if I do not really have a game library? Laughing out loud? I have only one game in my Steam account, which not many people play anyway. Story 144. I have some single-player games that have clear endings. But what about games like Squad, Armed Assault 3, Kencher, or The Sims? How do you beat those games? Story 145. Currently my game library consists of an Atari 2600 with about 35 games, a Nintendo Entertainment System with 6 games, a Super Nintendo Entertainment System with 12 games, a Nintendo 64 with 17 games, PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 with 12 games, and a Wii with 10 games. Give me a month. Wait, shit. One of these is in Kingdom Hearts 2. I am going to need more time. I will need all of it. Story 146. Oh no. I have a copy of Desert Bus in my Steam library. Story 147. 0 seconds? I don't have a single game in any collection. Did I win? Story 148. It feels like a dream and the most exciting struggle, but some horror games in my library can make it end prematurely. Story 149. Walkthrough websites are about to get a lot of traffic from me. I'll probably give it 2 months. I don't have any games with ridiculously hard bosses. Story 150. I accidentally bought a Romance of the Three Kingdoms game in Chinese. It is going to take a while. Story 151. I do not know if it will be easy, but it will be awesome. Pokemon on Game Boy, Call of Duty and action role-playing games on personal computer, and Grand Theft Auto and Dragon Ball on PlayStation 2. Story 152. Does the Steam family library count? My brother-in-law has over 800 games, and I have 45. Story 153. Assuming it does not mean completing 100% of Paradox Interactive games and games like The Binding of Isaac, it is actually doable for me. I have about 70 games in my Steam library and a few on the Epic Games Store and other stores. Story 154. It would be impossible. I have Elder Scrolls Online and No Man's Sky in my library, and those never end. Story 155. I have Balatro, 5 Lego games, Cuphead, and Elden Ring all downloaded right now. I would be there for 300 years. I am awful at games. Story 156. Define complete. Do I have to earn the Platinum Trophy? Or do I just need to play through the game once and not worry about hidden content or new game plus? Story 157. Do I get access to all the old games I got about 80% through and then stopped? Or do I have to find an Atari 2600 Galaga and a cathode ray tube television old enough to play them? Can I do this on my own time? Or does the genie pay my rent and groceries while I work on it? How do I beat Pac-Man or Tetris? Story 158. The Empire Strikes Back on the Nintendo Entertainment System is going to prevent my immortal ascent. Story 159. Bro, I am really stuck in Silksong right now. I do not think I would be able to do it. Story 160. I have Rocksmith and Chips Challenge in my library. If completing means 100% on every track in Rocksmith, that is going to take me a while. Chips Challenge is going to be a nightmare. Story 161. How do I complete Tetris, chess, or Minecraft? Any endless game will last forever. Story 162. Trying to achieve that may not actually mean living for eternity, but it will begin to feel like it. Story 163. Joke's on you. I finish almost everything I play anyway, though there might be slight issues with online games that had their support shut down. Story 164. In the end, immortality depends on whether you actually finish your collection. Story 165. Will the genie also offer me a version of The Witcher that will not keep crashing? If not, I will never finish it. Story 166. FC25. Ghost of Tsushima. Cyberpunk. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Definitely more than 120 hours. Story 167. How do I complete The Sims? One requirement might be buying all the expansions, which I cannot afford. How do you finish an open-ended game? Additionally, I am already stuck because I needed help to complete Undertale. Sans was defeating me and affecting my vision. My prescription does need an update, so I would probably decline immediately. Story 168. Oh Jesus. I used to work in gaming media and activated every review code I ever received. I have over 2,000 games. I do not think I will live long enough if immortality only comes afterward. Story 169. I have many games that have no completion. I guess I am stuck playing forever. Story 170. I do not think I could even motivate myself to start trying. It is not just the backlog. It is all the games I did not even deliberately buy. I have been getting the humble monthly bundle for years and have added many keys to Steam that my granddaughter would play. Years ago, I looked into selling keys that I would not use and found that the money was not worth the effort. Then I started giving away keys for free, and that caused its own problems. Story 171. I have been getting the free game from Epic Games every week for about 5 years. Story 172. Online or board game library. There are some legacy doozies on my shelves. Story 173. I would die first. The question does not specify which libraries count. Steam, Epic Games, Origin, Good Old Games, itch.io, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, or my physical collection. Does that include massively multiplayer online games I have played or that are currently downloaded? I made a list of all the massively multiplayer online games I have played, about 170 different titles, and I should not have made that list because it is a library. Completing any of those games is not realistic, and those alone would be overwhelming. Story 174. Why would you want immortality if it means being decrepit and alone after humanity dies, living until the end of the universe? Story 175. I am fairly quick, but I have been very broke lately due to fiscal irresponsibility. Story 176. Instructions are unclear. You are immortal as long as you clear your game library. Story 177. I do not actually have that many. Fewer than 20 for sure. I am a very casual gamer and tend to play the same game for a long time. I have already completed almost all the games I own. I am good to go. Story 178. The only game I have not finished is Armored Core 6, and I have not even beaten Sulla, so I will take however long it takes to beat it. Story 179. My personal Steam library is small, but my family library is large. If it is personal, I can do it. If it is not, it will take me longer. Story 180. Oh, for God's sake. I play mammoth Japanese role-playing games and simulation games that have no definite end. How is completion determined? Story 181. I have Tears of the Kingdom. I would like it to take a long time. Story 182. It is good. I do not wish to be immortal because there is no way that is happening. Story 183. I have played Lost Odyssey. This sounds like a bad deal. Story 184. Considering I have over 1,500 physical games and a very large number of virtual games for both console and personal computer, it may take at least a couple of decades. Story 185. Clarification. Do you mean all games or only installed games? Story 186. What if you share your Steam library with family? Not every game is actually yours. Story 187. I have bought only 5 games in my life, but I received many free games and have played about 5. I feel overwhelmed. I don't even know which one would take the longest because I'm unfamiliar with half of them. Story 188. Who would want to be immortal? That would be torturous. Story 189. Instant. I have no games. I do not want immortality, however. Story 190. In a few years, this could be done for single-player games, but there are some multiplayer games, such as EVE Online. Story 191. Fine by me. I was poor for a long time, so I mastered all the games in my small library. Story 192. Even if it takes a year, I would gladly accept immortality. Story 193. Fine with me. I was poor for a long time, so I mastered all the games in my small library. Story 194. I don't have a lot of games, but I'm currently at 30 hours in The Witcher 3 and only about 20% completed. So I have a feeling this one is going to take a good bit of time. Story 195. I've tried Sekiro a few times. I'm not winning this one, guys. Story 196. If it's my Steam library, I could do that. I'm just grateful that Minecraft isn't on Steam. Story 197. How does one finish Valorant, League of Legends, and Rocket League? Story 198. How do you determine whether a game is complete? Many games do not have a definitive end. Story 199. How exactly are we defining completion of Black Desert? I have 4,000 hours in it, and I would not say I am past the early game. Story 200. If complete means 100% of the achievements, he can keep the immortality. Some achievements are probably impossible for me. I would have to do nothing but play for my remaining waking life, and I would still probably die before I finished. Otherwise, I am not even sure what completing a game involves, to be fair. Some are very linear and have an ending. Others are like How Do You Complete Civilization, all the Paradox strategy games, No Man's Sky, X4, or Elite Dangerous. So many are more like open-ended sandboxes. Story 201. I have almost 200 war games from Simulations Publications Incorporated, Avalon Hill, and other companies from the 1970s and 1980s. Since I have to read the rules, I am already immortal. Story 202. When does immortality start? When you begin work on the backlog or after you complete it? Is it an ongoing state or a one-time condition? Story 203. What if you have games that cannot technically be completed? Story 204. Well, look at it this way. It is not too bad as long as you complete them before the heat death of the universe. Story 205. Well, if I have to complete 100% of the achievements, the Stanley Parable would set me back 5 years by itself. The other 500 games would make it take a full lifetime. Story 206. They should have given me the offer 20 years ago, before I had Humble Monthly and Humble Choice running for years and received all the epic freebies. There is no way I will complete it all before I die. Story 207. It is not possible to install some games in the library because they are offline. Story 208. By complete, do you mean 100%? All achievements? Or just finishing the game on hard mode? Clearing the game once is too easy. Normal plus new game plus or hard mode if available seems fair. Instead of full immortality, I would prefer extended life with immunity to lethal damage. That is perfect regeneration. Can we bargain with the genie? Story 209. Can he give me some cash to buy new copies of the games I lost? Does he want to help me earn multiplayer achievements? Story 210. I have already completed all the games in my library except Gary's mod. It is a sandbox, so you cannot complete it. Story 211. Define complete. Do you mean just finishing the main objective, or literally completing everything 100%? Story 212. Immortality but with an income and so on. So I do not have to work? Well, 515 games in my library. Can I add more? Story 213. Then I'm dead. Way too many games for one lifetime, and I'm already 40. Story 214. I have a physical collection of retro games. I would have to play them until I die. Story 215. I really don't think I want to be immortal. It's been a damn while. Story 216. What if all your gaming platforms are piñatas? Story 217. Fuck. Story 218. I started the year with 50 of 122 games completed. I am now at 72 of 122. I have some much longer games to get to, such as Red Dead Redemption 2 and Persona 5. I project it will take about 5 years to finish. I have bought about 5 games since I began the list at the start of last year. Story 219. No time at all, since I would certainly decline the genie's offer. Immortality sounds awful. Story 220. Define complete, I guess. If you mean finish the main game, about a month. Complete all side quests, a couple of months. 100% for every game. I don't know, a couple of years. I have Red Dead Redemption 2, some of the Civilization games, and Stellaris. What would that even look like for Destiny 2? Story 221. I don't know if it is possible to win at SimCity 2000. Kind of just is. As for Alex Kidd in Miracle World, I don't think anyone has completed it. Story 222. If Skyrim is modded, I am pretty sure the heat death of the universe will occur first. Story 223. It will take me 0 seconds because there are no games in my library. Story 224. I regret all the free Epic Games titles I got but never played. Story 225. That's a wild offer. Completing every game in my library would take forever. Have you seen the size of some people's Steam libraries? The longest ones are massive role-playing games like The Witcher 3 or Skyrim, with all the side quests and exploration. Dark Souls is basically a never-ending cycle of dying and trying again. Games like Civilization 6 can eat up hours without you even realizing it. I'd probably be stuck gaming forever, but at least I'd have all the time in the world. Story 226. I'm so poor. I only have an old THQ Toy Headquarters bundle of Warhammer 40,000 and something free from Humble Bundle. I've had them for a month or two, maybe. Story 227. I play Elite Dangerous, so exploring it would take thousands of years. A comparable achievement would be discovering and mapping every star system and planet. The game has modeled the entire Milky Way galaxy, and currently around 0.02% has been discovered. I also have goals like the Doom remake that I will almost certainly never be skilled enough to complete. Story 228. I sail the seas, so my library is small and manageable. Story 229. Do you mean complete as in finishing the story, or complete as in 100% of the achievements? The former takes a few thousand hours. The latter? I am not collecting every flag or feather across the Assassin's Creed franchise. Story 230. Not that bad. I have some old games like StarCraft and Street Wars. I don't know if I can finish N and Exanima. Story 231. As long as it is not stated that I cannot modify my Steam library, which is the only place I have games, I will remove all the ones I do not want or cannot finish and start enjoying my immortality once I have completed my favorites. The genie effect regarding the precision of technical specifications works both ways. Story 232. I recently got the R36S model with 15,000 or more games in addition to my Nintendo Switch with 200 games. I will see the next Ice Age. Story 233. Let us make some assumptions. I have 2,970 games that I can actually complete. I have 137 that can never be completed because a critical server has been taken down. There are 26 that are massively multiplayer online and have no clear definition of what completion is. There are 45 games that have no win condition or are generative roguelikes with no true end. Let us exclude the impossible to play and games that have no clear win condition, for example Cataclysm. Dark Days Ahead. Most games have an average completion time, story end, of 20 to 40 hours. Let us use 40 hours. So that is 2,970 times 40 equals 118,800 hours. That is 4,950 days, about 13 years. Without establishing those bounds, the number can fluctuate. At 20 hours, this becomes 2,970 times 20 equals 59,400 hours, about 6.78 years. Let us exclude what I have actually completed, which is about 2/5 of them. That brings it down to 5.4 years. Are we including expansions? 1 out of about 10 of my games has an expansion, and some have several. Expansions are usually about 10 hours of content, but some, like Stellaris, have several. Let us average about 15 hours per expansion. That is 185 days on expansion content alone. What about competitive games like Street Fighter? Is completion getting the top spot on the leaderboard? That can take 1,000 hours or more. Finally, there are extreme simulation games like Euro Truck Simulator. What is the win condition there? When you own your own trucking company and no longer have to drive any routes. How about Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is essentially here is a plane. Have fun. Gary's Mod is just a physics sandbox. Pokemon. where the chance for a single one of the 150 Pokemon in the game to turn up shiny is 1 in 8,192. Each encounter takes about 2 minutes, plus every 80 or so you need to re-energize your team. That is 273 hours for the chance to encounter one shiny Pokemon, without any other modifiers. That is 191,100 hours, assuming you can even get shiny legendary Pokemon. What about modding? Are mods part of completion? Some games cannot be played at all without community patches, and some mods are so well regarded that they are critical. If so, I would have to add over 1 million hours to RimWorld alone. However, due to the current industry stance that we do not own the games we bought, I think I would not have to play a damn thing. Story 234. Fuck. I finally have to play Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Story 235. 0 seconds. I do not even have a computer to play games. Story 236. I have only 2 games on my smartphone. One is already finished. Story 237. I have a large number of games that have no ending, so I have to decline. I would also need clarification on whether this genie offers biological or perpetual immortality. Story 238. By complete, do you mean get 100% of the achievements? Some achievements are now impossible because the servers are offline. If it is just finishing the game, I would imagine about 1,000 to 3,000 dedicated hours. Story 239. I would ask, define completion. The longest would be the massively multiplayer online games. Warframe, Final Fantasy XIV, Dungeon Fighter Online, Mabinogi, Star Wars, The Elder Scrolls Online. I would need immortality and magical servers before that to even have a chance. Story 240. I am in trouble because I have some old-school Nintendo games such as Ghosts and Goblins and Battletoads. Story 241. It is impossible because some friends begged me to play survival crafting games with them. I dislike those games because they have no clear win condition. You cannot beat them. Story 242. If by complete you mean 100% achievements, that is not possible. I have games that can no longer do that, laughing out loud. Story 243. Immortality would not be long enough to finish every game I own. Story 244. What does complete mean? No way I am 100% complete in Hollow Knight. Story 245. Sword Art Online Alicization and Red Dead Redemption 2. I am pretty sure both games have cooperative trophies, and I do not have PlayStation Plus. Diablo 2 Resurrected might be the longest. Getting a hardcore character to level 99 is going to be brutal. Story 246. I'm relatively new to Minecraft. What does completing Minecraft mean? Story 247. If this includes World of Warcraft mythic raids, I will never accomplish this. Story 248. What does complete mean for the genie? Does any percent mean just getting to the end? Does 100% mean obtaining all achievements? How do online games handle this? Do I have to play them again if an update expands the endgame? Story 249. The only games I own are Team Fortress 2 and Counter-Strike. Laughing out loud. I also have Minesweeper and Solitaire. Maybe 2 days? Story 250. How many of you have that game where you press one button to send the character in a jar with a pickaxe over the mountain? Story 251. I have 19,000 games on all of my emulators, so it is impossible for me. Story 252. I would ask if I could just have some money instead. I do not want to watch everyone I love die. Story 253. Does Windows still include Solitaire? I think I could finish it in 5 minutes. Story 254. What does complete even mean? Would it mean getting victory once, or achieving victory on the hardest difficulty under every possible permutation? If so, I am pretty sure I cannot complete Stellaris, let alone the rest of my Steam library. Story 255. Define complete. I could manage to finish the story, but I also own a lot of From Software games that I'm very bad at. If it's 100%, I would just thank him for his time. Story 256. I play Elite Dangerous. It is a copy of the entire galaxy. Less than 5% of it has been mapped despite tens of thousands of people exploring for the last decade. It is going to take a while. Story 257. Do I get immortality before I start playing them? In that case, yes, I can get them done. Story 258. Does complete every game mean just beating it, such as finishing the story or main game mode? Or does it mean unlocking every achievement? Several games have online-only achievements, but their servers have been shut down, making it impossible to fully complete them. Story 259. Do I have to complete all Minecraft mod packs in my library? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.